I spent 3 years telling people to skip Malaysia. Go to Japan for food, I said. Go to Thailand. Go to Vietnam. Malaysia is fine for a stopover, I said. Grab something at the airport and move on. I was confidently, embarrassingly, completely wrong. I know what you're thinking right now, because it's exactly what I thought. Malaysia is fine. It's not Japan. It's not Thailand. It doesn't have the same prestige, the same food culture reputation, the same Instagram moment. And that assumption, that casual, lazy assumption, is costing you the best meals of your life. I've eaten ramen in Kyoto at midnight. I've sat at street stalls in Bangkok at 2 a.m. I've done the Hanoi Pho Crawl, the Singapore Hawker Center circuit, the Bali Warung tour. I have done the approved itinerary. And after all of it, one bowl of asam laksa in Penang made me feel like I had been lied to for years. This is not a list of nice food you can find in Malaysia. This is the case for why Malaysian street food, right now, beats every single country in the region. 10 dishes. Real evidence. And by the end, you will understand why nobody is talking about this and why that's not an accident. Number 10. Roti canai. Most countries cannot do breakfast. They try. Japan has its rice and pickles, beautiful and austere. England has its fry-up, ambitious and exhausting. But breakfast, as a concept, fast, cheap, deeply satisfying, available to everyone at 6 a.m. Malaysia has solved it in a way no other country in Asia has matched. Walk into any mamak stall in Kuala Lumpur before sunrise. The sound hits you first, the slap of dough against a steel counter, the rhythmic stretching and spinning of roti canai being pulled impossibly thin before it folds back onto itself. Then the smell. Ghee hitting a hot iron tawa, the edges crisping to gold while the center stays soft and layered. 1.50. A cup of teh tarik beside it for another 1.80. Total cost of the best breakfast you've had all year, less than $1. James came to Kuala Lumpur in 2018 for a corporate secondment. British, organized, the kind of person who reads hotel breakfast reviews before booking. His first morning, he went down to the hotel buffet, found it fine, and filed a mental note to explore later. His colleague took him to a mamak that evening. The next morning, James walked past the hotel breakfast and didn't stop. He hasn't eaten a hotel breakfast since. Not because he became adventurous. Because once you've had roti canai with dal and sambal at a table that seats strangers together, everything else feels like a performance. Japan does breakfast beautifully. Precise, minimalist, almost meditative. But you need 1,800 yen in a reservation, and you will eat alone in silence. Roti canai costs $1.50 and arrives in 4 minutes, and the uncle at the counter will ask you, genuinely, how you are. That's the warm-up. The next dish involves a technique that Michelin-starred chefs have spent years trying to replicate, and a Penang hawker does it every night for $7 over a charcoal flame. Number 9. Char kway teow. There is a concept in Chinese cooking called wok hei. The breath of the wok. It describes the specific caramelization that happens when ingredients hit a screaming hot surface at the exact right moment, when the fire leaps up through the wok space and chars everything in a fraction of a second. It is brutal and precise simultaneously. It is almost impossible to replicate on a home stove. And the best execution of it in Asia is not in a restaurant in Hong Kong. It is on a charcoal flame in a lane in Penang called Lorong Selamat, served from a stall that has been operating since the 1950s. The char kway teow here is dark soy, flat rice noodles, egg, bean sprouts, cockles, and Chinese sausage. That description is useless. What arrives in the plate is smoky, aggressive, borderline burnt in a way that makes you lean forward instead of back. The charcoal smoke rises off the surface. The egg is barely set, coating everything in a thin, rich layer. The dark soy stains the noodles mahogany. It looks chaotic. It tastes like a decision. Priya came to Penang from Chennai with a working theory. She's a food blogger, serious about her craft, and her theory was that Malaysian food was essentially a cousin of South Indian cooking with some Chinese influence layered on top. She was going to write something respectful but ultimately confirmatory. She ate char kway teow at Lorong Selamat at 8 p.m. on her first night and scrapped the theory on the spot. She published a 3,000-word piece instead, calling it the single best noodle dish she had eaten anywhere in Asia. She had eaten in 22 countries before she wrote that sentence. Thailand's pad see ew is good. Genuinely good. But it is sweet and safe and it wants you to like it. Char kway teow doesn't care whether you like it. And that confidence is the difference. What's coming next isn't about technique. It's about a dish that contains an entire national story inside a banana leaf. And the story is more interesting than you've been told. Number 8. Nasi lemak. Every country has a national dish. Most of them disappoint you when you actually eat them. They're more symbolic than good. You eat them and you think, yes, I understand why this is meaningful. But the meaning is doing most of the work. Nasi lemak does not need your charity. The rice is cooked in coconut milk with pandan leaf. That detail matters more than it sounds. The pandan perfumes the rice with something floral and slightly grassy and completely distinct. There is no Western analog for the smell, and I am not going to pretend there is. The rice arrives with sambal, a chili paste that in a lesser version is hot and nothing else, and in a great version is hot, sweet, slightly acidic, and deep with dried shrimp. Fried anchovies on top. Half a boiled egg. Cucumber slices. Roasted peanuts. All of this in a cone of banana leaf at a roadside stall at 7 a.m. 5 flavor dimensions in one parcel. Fat from the coconut rice. Heat from the sambal. Acid from the tamarind in the sambal. Crunch from the anchovies and peanuts. A sweetness underneath everything that doesn't announce itself but holds the whole thing together. Amir grew up in Malaysia, moved to Melbourne for university, stayed for 6 years, built a career. He spent those 6 years explaining to Australians that Malaysian food was worth knowing about and feeling, each time, that the explanation didn't quite land. He moved back in 2022. His first morning home, he drove to a roadside stall in Chowkit and ordered nasi lemak bungkus wrapped in banana leaf, RM 2.50. He has described the first bite as the moment he stopped second-guessing the decision. Not a dramatic moment. Just a confirmation. This is where the food makes sense. Vietnam's national dishes are iconic. Singular in flavor, pure in execution. Nasi lemak is not pure. It is complex and slightly chaotic and 5 things at once. And that complexity is not a flaw. It is the point. But nasi lemak is the comfort dish. The next one is the one that nobody in the Western food media will explain to you properly. And the reason they won't is more interesting than the dish itself. Number 7. Asam laksa. I have had ramen in Kyoto at a counter with 8 seats and a 2-hour queue. I have had pho bo in Hanoi at a place that has been open since before my parents were born. I have had tom yum in Chiang Mai made with fresh galangal and kaffir lime leaf from the market an hour earlier. I am not a person who uses superlatives carelessly. Asam laksa broke me. The broth is tamarind sour and mackerel rich. The sourness is not the clean, bright sourness of a lemon. It is deeper, more complex, slightly fermented. The mackerel has been flaked and dissolved into the broth until it is no longer a protein but an atmosphere. Shrimp paste underneath, dark and oceanic and confrontational. Thick rice noodles. Slivers of pineapple. Mint. Red onion. The Heiko, a thick prawn paste sauce added at the table, turning the whole bowl darker and more serious. There is no Western analog. There is no, it tastes like, comparison I can give you that is honest. It tastes like asam laksa. Sarah is a travel journalist from New York. She was assigned in 2021 to write a piece with a fairly standard brief: Southeast Asia for first-timers, where to go, Japan and Thailand as anchors, Malaysia as an optional sidebar. She came to Penang to do 3 days of research. She ate asam laksa at the Aridam market on day 1. She called her editor that evening and told him she couldn't write the piece as commissioned. The sidebar wasn't a sidebar. She spent another week in Penang and submitted a full Malaysia feature instead. CNN Travel ranked asam laksa among the world's 50 best foods. It is not number 50. It is in the top 10. Japan's ramen, for all its global profile, for all its documentary coverage, is not. Japan's ramen is built on one flavor axis: umami, deep and singular and extraordinary. Asam laksa attacks you from 5 directions simultaneously and never lets you find the center. You don't know whether to stop or order another bowl. Most people order another bowl. But here is what I haven't told you yet about Malaysian food. The variety, the sheer, bewildering, apparently chaotic variety, is not an accident. It is the product of something deliberate. And understanding it will change how you see the next 3 dishes. Malaysia has been, for centuries, a convergence point. Malay, Chinese, Indian, Peranakan, Orang Asli, these are not influences that got blended together into a single Malaysian identity. They exist in parallel, side by side. A hawker center in Penang will have a Malay nasi campur stall, a Chinese char kway teow stall, an Indian rojak stall, and a Peranakan laksa stall within 30 feet of each other. They compete. They've been competing for decades. And competition, at the street food level, means every stall operator knows that the person next to them is better than they're allowed to be. Singapore has similar heritage. But Singapore cleaned it up. Put it in air-conditioned food courts. Standardized the recipes. Made it safe. Bangkok homogenized its street food, too, and the city is now managing the consequences of losing the texture. Penang and Kuala Lumpur kept it street level, unregulated, and competitive. That decision, or maybe that non-decision, that refusal to intervene, produced the food you're watching me describe right now. If you think the world needs to stop sleeping on Malaysian food and you want to be the person who helps change that story, subscribe right now. Not for the channel. For the food that deserves an audience. Because the next 3 dishes are in their own category. But before I get there, I need to talk about the lie. The one that's been quietly steering millions of food travelers away from the best eating in Asia. Number 6. Bak kut teh. What if I told you that one of Malaysia's most beloved dishes was, in its origin, medicine? Bak kut teh, pork ribs in an herbal broth, was developed by Hokkien Chinese laborers in the port towns of the Malay Peninsula in the late 19th century. The herbs dang gway, star anise, cinnamon, wolfberries, dark soy were combined in doses designed to sustain physical labor. This was functional food before functional food became a marketing category. It was a worker's breakfast designed to carry you through a 12-hour shift. The Klang version, the original, from the royal town of Klang in Selangor, is dark, herbal, aggressive. The broth is almost black. The medicinal notes are not subtle. The garlic has been in there long enough to become part of the broth rather than an ingredient in it. You drink the broth separately in a small cup, like tea. Because it is, structurally, exactly that. Daniel is a food writer from Singapore. He grew up eating Singapore's version of bak kut teh, lighter, peppery, the broth clear and aromatic. He went to Klang with the specific intention of writing a piece explaining why Singapore's version is the superior one. He ate the clang version at a shophouse restaurant that has been open since 1968. He drove back to Singapore and wrote a piece called, "I Was Wrong About Malaysian Food." It has been shared over 40,000 times. Singapore claims this dish. But the serious food people, the ones who have eaten both, who have gone to the source, go to clang. But the next part of this video is the most important part. Because while you and I are having this conversation about extraordinary food, something deliberate has been happening to make sure you never find it on your own. Here's what you've been told. You've been told to go to Japan for food. You've been told to go to Thailand. You've been told that Malaysia is a connecting flight, a half-day stop, and also ran. Every major Western food publication, every travel app algorithm, every influencer itinerary you've ever seen places Malaysia as the gap between more interesting destinations. And I want to be specific about why that is, because it is not because of the food. Japan's tourism infrastructure, the Japan National Tourism Organization, operates with one of the largest promotion budgets in Asia. Thailand's Tourism Authority of Thailand spends over 1 billion baht annually on international marketing. Vietnam has been running a coordinated, decade-long campaign to position itself as the food travel destination of Southeast Asia. These are not organic stories. They are funded narratives. And funded narratives crowd out the truth. Now here are the facts that those narratives are erasing. Penang has been ranked by Lonely Planet as one of the top 10 food cities in the world. Not in Asia, in the world. CNN Travel's 50 World's Best Foods list includes more Malaysian dishes than Japanese ones. TripAdvisor Traveler's Choice Awards have repeatedly named Penang as the top food destination in all of Southeast Asia, not Bangkok, not Hanoi, not Tokyo. Penang. The food is not undiscovered. The narrative is undiscovered. And you're watching this video because, somewhere in the recommendation algorithm, the truth is finally leaking through. Malaysia doesn't need a government marketing campaign. It needs the people who have eaten here to be honest about what they ate. So let's be honest. Number 5. Saté. And number 4. Curry laksa. Malaysian satay is cooked over charcoal. This sounds like a minor detail. It is not. The charcoal creates a specific caramelization on the surface of the meat, chicken or beef or lamb, marinated in turmeric and lemongrass and galangal that a gas flame cannot replicate. The fat renders at the exact moment the sugars in the marinade begin to char. You smell it before you see the stall. From 30 feet away, the smoke and sweetness and slight bitterness of near-burnt marinade tells you where to go. The peanut sauce is cold. Or close to cold. Against the heat of the skewer, the contrast is violent in the best possible way. Thailand has satay too. Thailand's version is good. But Thailand's peanut sauce is sweeter, milder, designed to comfort. Malaysian satay peanut sauce has texture ground peanut, chili, tamarind and it pushes back. Amara came from Nigeria to study engineering in Kuala Lumpur. She had never eaten satay before she arrived. Her first semester, a Malaysian classmate took her to a night market in Kajang, the unofficial satay capital of Malaysia. She has described the experience as recalibrating her understanding of what meat could taste like. She now sends her family sambal paste and peanut sauce in care packages. She is a structural engineering student who has started a food blog. Malaysian street food does this to people. Curry laksa. Coconut milk and curry leaf and sambal and tofu puffs and cockles in a broth so heavy it coats the back of a spoon. Thailand's green curry uses many of the same foundational ingredients. But Thai green curry is a condiment, something you pour over rice to brighten a meal. Curry laksa is the meal. It is dense and fatty and rich in a way that is almost medicinal. You eat it and you feel it working. 2 dishes down, 2 to go. And the next one is going to make every ramen purist watching this deeply, irreversibly uncomfortable. Number 3 and number 2. Hokkien mee, and Penang rojak. Here is a fact about Malaysian food that is genuinely unusual. Hokkien mee in Kuala Lumpur and Hokkien mee in Penang are completely different dishes. They share a name. They share, broadly, the Hokkien Chinese heritage. Beyond that, they are unrelated. KL Hokkien mee. Thick yellow noodles, dark soy, pork lard, pork slices, crispy pork crackling on top. Dark, heavy, unapologetic. Penang Hokkien mee. Thin yellow noodles in a prawn and pork bone broth, sambal on the side, boiled egg, bean sprouts, prawn. Brighter, more oceanic, built around the sweetness of prawn head stock simmered for hours. Japan has regional ramen variations. Tokyo shoyu versus Sapporo miso versus Fukuoka tonkatsu. They are genuinely different from each other, but they operate within the same conceptual framework: noodle, broth, toppings. Hokkien mee North and South are two different dishes that happen to walk into the same name. Only in Malaysia does this happen, because only in Malaysia did two different regional Chinese communities arrive in two different port cities and cook from memory without comparing notes for 100 years. Tariq grew up eating both versions. His family is mixed KL Penang background. He moved to London and spent a year trying to bring Hokkien mee to a serious restaurant audience. He gave up. The obstacle wasn't the technique. The obstacle was the hard chung, the prawn paste, which is fermented in a way so specific to the Penang environment that importing it changes the taste. The terroir is in the ingredient. The dish requires its home. Penang rojak. Most people outside Malaysia have never heard of it. That is the whole story, summarized in one sentence. Rojak is a salad of fruit and vegetables: pineapple, cucumber, turnip, teow tossed in a sauce built around hei ko. Hei ko is a thick, dark, intensely fermented prawn paste sauce. It is the most concentrated umami condiment in Asian street cooking, and it is not famous, and I cannot explain why. The sauce is cut with tamarind and sugar and chili, and it coats everything in a way that turns fruit into something savory and slightly terrifying and completely addictive. You eat it and then you sit there thinking about it for 3 days. One dish left. The one I said made me cancel Tokyo. I'll do my best to describe it, but I want to be upfront. I'm not sure language is adequate for this. Number 1. Nasi Kandar. Nasi Kandar began in Penang in the early 20th century with Indian Muslim traders who carried food on a pole, a kandar balanced across their shoulders. The pole held 2 buckets. 1 rice. 1 curry. The system was simple because the product was extraordinary. Today, in the great Nasi Kandar restaurants of Penang, line clear as open 24 hours, has been since 1938. You stand at a counter looking at the largest selection of curries, gravies, and proteins you have ever seen in one place. Chicken in 3 different styles. Mutton. Fish. Squid. Fried prawns. Okra in curry. Aubergine in sambal. You point. They add it to your rice. And then they do the thing that makes Nasi Kandar what it is. They pour the curries over the rice, not 1 curry, 3, 4, 5 curries, and let the gravies bleed into each other and into the rice. The plate that arrives looks like controlled chaos. Every pour changes the plate. No 2 plates the same. The smell is curry leaf and star anise and coconut and dark rempa and fried shallots and prawn, and something underneath it all that is simply heat, the ambient heat of a restaurant that has been cooking continuously for over 80 years. Japanese food is precision. Every element placed deliberately, in service of a singular flavor intention. Thai food is balance, the sweet, sour, salt, heat equation that every Thai cook internalizes before they touch a wok. Indian food is depth, the time-built layering of spice on spice on spice that rewards patience. Nasi Kandar is all 3. Simultaneously. In a converted shophouse with plastic chairs and a ceiling fan and a queue of people who came back the next day and the day after that. Sarah, the journalist who killed the Skip Malaysia piece, she now opens every food travel talk she gives with Nasi Kandar. Not as an example, as the answer. When someone asks her what the best meal of her life was, she does not hesitate. She does not qualify it by cuisine or context or price point. She says Penang. Line clear. 11 p.m. Nasi Kandar. I came to Malaysia thinking I understood Asian food. I had eaten my way across the region for years. I had the context, the comparisons, the credentials. I thought I knew what was worth finding and what was marketing. I left realizing I had been eating the polished, export-ready version of Asian cuisine everywhere else I went. The version designed for Western comfort and Western expectations. The food that had been trained to present itself. Malaysia, at the street level, is the untrained version. The unperformed version. The version that has been feeding real people in real conditions for a long time and never needed anyone's approval to be extraordinary. I'm not telling you to skip Japan. Japan is magnificent. I'm not telling you to skip Thailand. Thailand earns everything it's known for. I am telling you to stop skipping Malaysia. If this changed how you think, subscribe. More of this coming. And it gets better. Now I want to know what you think. Is Malaysia the most underrated food destination in all of Asia? Or do Japan and Thailand still have the edge? Drop your answer in the comments below, and if you've eaten in Penang, tell me the one dish that changed you. I read every single one.